Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into an exciting topic: planet money.
That's right, money isn't just about cash. It's a whole ecosystem that affects our daily lives and the world around us. He gestures broadly, emphasizing the vastness of the topic.
Exactly. To kick things off, let's preview some important vocabulary that will help us navigate today's discussion.
Vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
Exactly, vocabulary preview.
First up, we have economic indicators. These are statistics that help us understand the health of the economy, like unemployment rates and GDP.
Next is monetary policy. This refers to the actions taken by central banks to control the money supply and interest rates. It's a key tool for managing the economy.
Then we have recession. This is a period of economic decline, often characterized by falling GDP and rising unemployment.
Lastly, let's talk about consumer confidence. This measures how optimistic or pessimistic consumers are regarding their expected financial situation.
Great! Now that we have those terms down, let's get into the conversation. So, Mason, when you think about planet money, what comes to mind?
Well, I think of how interconnected everything is. For instance, how a small change in interest rates can ripple through the economy.
Absolutely, it's fascinating. For example, when the central bank lowers interest rates, it encourages borrowing.
Right, and that can lead to more spending by consumers and businesses, which boosts economic growth.
But what happens when rates go up?
Good question. When interest rates rise, borrowing becomes more expensive. People might cut back on spending, and businesses might delay investments.
That makes sense. It can create a slowdown in economic activity, right?
Exactly. And that's where economic indicators come into play. They help us gauge how the economy is performing and where it might be headed.
So, what are some key indicators you think we should pay attention to?
Well, the unemployment rate is huge. It tells us how many people are looking for jobs and how healthy the job market is.
Yes, and GDP, or gross domestic product, gives us a snapshot of the economy's overall performance.
Exactly. It's like the report card for the economy. But it's not just numbers. It reflects people's lives and decisions.
Right, and that's where consumer confidence comes in. When people feel secure, they're more likely to spend money, which drives the economy.
Yes, but when consumer confidence is low, it can lead to reduced spending, which can trigger a recession.
That's a scary thought. So, what can be done to boost consumer confidence?
Well, governments can implement policies to stimulate the economy. For example, tax cuts or direct financial assistance can encourage people to spend.
And let's not forget the role of businesses. They can innovate and create new products to capture consumer interest.
Absolutely. It's a dynamic cycle. When businesses thrive, they hire more people, which boosts confidence and spending.
It's like a chain reaction. Each piece affects the others.
Exactly, and that's why understanding these concepts is crucial. It helps us navigate our financial decisions better.
I couldn't agree more. So, how can our listeners apply this knowledge in their everyday lives?
Great question. Being aware of economic indicators can help them make informed decisions, whether it's saving, investing, or spending.
Yes, and it empowers them to engage in discussions about the economy with confidence.
And that's what we want, for our listeners to feel informed and engaged with the world of money.
Now, we're diving deeper into how economic concepts play out in real life.
That's right. We talked about economic indicators and their importance. Now, let's see how they affect our daily lives.
So, Mason, can you give us an example of how a specific economic indicator impacts everyday people?
Sure, let's take the unemployment rate. When it's high, many people are looking for jobs, which can create a sense of insecurity and anxiety.
That makes sense. When people are worried about their jobs, they tend to spend less, right?
Exactly. It's like a ripple effect. Less spending leads to reduced business revenue, which can cause companies to cut back on hiring or even lay off workers.
And on the flip side, when the unemployment rate is low, how does that change things?
When unemployment is low, people feel more secure in their jobs. They're more likely to spend money on things like dining out, vacations, and even big purchases like homes or cars.
It's all interconnected. Speaking of which, how about monetary policy? Can you give us a scenario where that plays a crucial role?
Sure, imagine a situation where the central bank decides to lower interest rates to stimulate the economy. This makes borrowing cheaper.
So people can get loans for homes or cars more easily.
Exactly. And businesses can also take loans to invest in new projects or expand. This leads to job creation and economic growth.
But what if someone decides to wait and save instead of borrowing?
That's a common choice, especially if people are uncertain about the future. But saving too much during a period of low interest can also be detrimental. It means less money flowing into the economy.
So balance is key. But how does consumer confidence fit into all of this?
Great question. When consumer confidence is high, people are more likely to spend money, which boosts businesses. It creates a positive cycle.
But when confidence dips, it can cause a slowdown. Can you share an example of what might trigger that?
Sure, events like political instability, economic downturns, or even a pandemic can shake people's confidence. They might hold on to their money instead of spending it.
That's understandable. I can see how fear and uncertainty can influence decisions.
Absolutely, and that's why it's crucial for businesses to understand these concepts. They need to adapt their strategies based on the economic climate.
Speaking of businesses, how can they effectively respond to changes in consumer confidence?
They can offer promotions or discounts to encourage spending. For example, during tough times, some retailers might run sales to attract cautious shoppers.
And communication is key, right? Being transparent about how business is responding to economic challenges can build trust.
Exactly. Customers appreciate honesty. If they feel valued, they're more likely to continue supporting that business.
It's all about relationships. So, what are some personal tips you would give our listeners to navigate these economic fluctuations?
One big tip is to stay informed. Following economic news can help you anticipate changes.
And what about budgeting? How can that help during uncertain times?
Great point. Having a budget allows you to track your expenses and savings. It gives you a clearer picture of your financial health.
And it helps you prioritize your spending. For example, you might choose to save for a big purchase instead of impulsively buying something small.
Exactly. Plus, it gives you peace of mind knowing you're prepared for unexpected events.
It sounds like a plan, and it empowers you to make decisions based on your needs rather than external pressures. Now, we're wrapping it all up by connecting economic concepts to real-life situations.
That's right. We'll delve into how understanding these concepts can empower you in your personal and professional life.
Let's start with a scenario. Imagine someone just graduated and is looking for a job. How can knowledge of the economy help them?
Great question. If they understand the current job market, like whether it's competitive or there are lots of opportunities, they can tailor their job search accordingly.
That makes sense. If the unemployment rate is low, they might feel more confident applying for positions.
Exactly. They can also network more aggressively, knowing that companies are actively hiring.
And what about those who are already employed? How can they benefit from understanding economic trends?
Well, if they notice economic growth, it could be a good time to ask for a raise or consider moving up within their company.
Right, and being aware of inflation can help them understand the value of their salary. If prices are rising, they might need to negotiate harder.
Absolutely. Plus, if they're planning to invest or save, knowing the interest rates can guide them in making smart financial decisions.
So being informed gives them leverage in many areas of their lives. Let's talk about budgeting. How can understanding these concepts help someone manage their finances better?
Well, if they know that a recession might be on the horizon, they could start saving more aggressively now.
And they could prioritize essential expenses over luxury items. What about setting financial goals?
Setting clear goals is key. For example, if they want to save for a house, understanding current interest rates can help them decide how much to save each month.
And having an emergency fund is essential, right? How does the economy influence that?
Yes, if the economy is unstable, it's smart to have a safety net. Experts often recommend saving 3 to 6 months worth of expenses.
That's practical advice. And what about investments? How should someone approach investing with economic knowledge?
Default text.
It's all about timing and understanding your goals. For someone just starting out, what would you suggest?
I'd recommend starting with basic education. Reading books, attending workshops, or even using apps that help with investing can build confidence.
And what's the role of continuous learning in this process?
Learning doesn't stop. The economy changes constantly, so staying informed through news articles, podcasts, and discussions is crucial.
I love that. It's like having a financial GPS always adjusting based on the landscape around you.
Exactly. And speaking of adjusting, let's talk about consumer behavior. How can people use economic knowledge to make better buying decisions?
They can identify trends. For example, if they notice that prices are rising for certain goods, they might choose to buy in bulk before costs increase further.
Or they could wait for sales or discounts, especially during seasonal changes when retailers clear out inventory.
That's practical, and it empowers consumers to make informed choices rather than impulsive ones.
Right. Informed consumers can drive change, pushing businesses to be more competitive and responsive to their needs.
And that's the power of understanding economics. It's not just numbers, it's about real-life implications.
Absolutely. We hope our listeners feel inspired to take control of their financial futures and make informed decisions.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through Planet Money. We hope you found these discussions helpful and insightful.
Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll explore more fascinating topics related to economics and personal finance.